We live in an area called Askeaton. There's an alumina refinery down there, but the problem is their waste is left at the Shannon estuary. And it's toxic waste, Anna. That's our problem. And there's about 50 million tonnes of it in open ponds, you know, and it blows. It leaks into the Shannon because the planning originally allowed for 70 acres of it. There was never lined. So since 1983, it's been leaking into the Shannon. People who fly in from America can look down on a fine day and see all this red underneath the water. And no one seems to care. You're here today saying, how do we protect the Shannon? Well, I can say we've lost our chance in protecting the Shannon because the damage has been done from this toxic waste being left there. County Council don't seem to care, the EPA don't seem to care, no one seems to care. It's money for this industry. They produce alumina, they export it abroad, and they leave us the waste. And it'll cost billions to clean up. But the problem is the walls could collapse. There's even a planning permission already granted for blasting just meters from it. So if they breach the embankments, the toxic waste is into the Shannon, and that's the end of it. So we feel we are losing the fight in saving the Shannon.
In 2019, Pat Gahan spoke about his family's 20-year battle to highlight industrial pollution on the Shannon estuary. Today, himself and his wife Nuala took that fight to the gates of Leinster House. Meanwhile, inside the gates in the Dáil chamber.
Independence, Deputy Matthew McGrath.
For more than 20 years, Pat and Nuala Gahan, Taoiseach, from Askeaton, County Limerick, have been calling for a public inquiry into the blood samples that went missing during one of the biggest investigations ever into industrial pollution. You already know this saga, Taoiseach, because you met to go Gahan's as Minister for Health. In fact, you called for a review on the 1st of April 2003 into the missing blood samples. Then you did a U-turn a month later, stopped your review. And was this, at 3 meetings with him, the Deputy CMO at the time, Dr. Tony Holohan, accompanied you. And was this review stopped at the behest of Dr. Holohan? Because the Gahan family have evidence that it was. In fact, they have written information saying that it was stopped by the Deputy CMO. It's 20 years later. They're outside the gate today protesting. Will you meet with them? Will you listen to them? And will you carry out the review that you promised back nearly 20 years ago, please?
You just raised an issue that you've given a perspective on it in relation to 20 years ago. I'm not in a position to here now to confirm whether Dr. Holohan was the person in relation to allegedly stopping a review or whatever. But
Taoiseach, you're familiar with the case of Pat and Nuala Gahan, who have for over 25 years been highlighting serious concerns around the health and environmental impacts of the Aughanish alumina plant neighbouring their farm. They have raised serious question marks over a previous investigation into this in the late 1990s, in particular highlighting 18 medical samples which mysteriously disappeared. Now I have a previously unpublished letter from the IDA and notes of a private meeting they had with Aughanish over this. They clearly show that the IDA, with absolutely no environmental or health expertise, not only took Aughanish's side, but then sought to influence the outcome of the health investigation. In it, they talk about the importance of the jobs involved and restate that they've been assured by the company that there's nothing to see there. I also have a letter showing that these notes were circulated to those conducting the investigation into the health problems, despite the fact that there's no scientific, no health information in it. Clearly an attempt to use economic arguments to influence the health investigation and to bias the whole thing. They're in the gallery. Will you support the call that you've supported previously for a public inquiry?
Deputy Clerk.
I want to add my voice to Deputy Murphy and others' calls for a full review of what could only be described as what very dodgy dealings at Askeaton in County Limerick. I'm new to this case, Taoiseach. I've only been reading up on it over the past couple of days, and it's very clear that the public interest has not been served by the investigations to date. The missing samples, then the freedom of information, the documentation that actually confirms that those documents had been tested, and then the entire question as to who, what, when and why those samples and the subsequent results went missing. Taoiseach, I know you were intimately involved in this case while you were Minister for Health. Will you accept that the case hasn't been satisfactorily resolved, and will you commit to reopening an investigation into the matter?
The issue in terms of the alumina plant and Gahan plant and the campaign of Pat and Nuala Gagan, again, I haven't in recent times gone back over all of the documentation, but there was significant work, if my recollection is correct, by the EPA as well. I don't have the documents that Deputy Murphy said he has in respect of the idea. I don't have that document, but there was both health and EPA examination of this issue at the time, and these are issues that should be examined by independent agencies with expertise and competency in the field. It has been going on a long time, that campaign, and there have been quite a number of reports and reviews. Deputy Boyd Barrett, in terms of the cost.
Pat, you're about to end your protest outside Leinster House, which began today at around 12 o'clock, and it's now coming up to 4 o'clock. Are you happy with how it went?
Yeah, I'm very happy really, because it's 20 years ago, and today it's only like yesterday. The amount of support we're getting, Catherine Connolly, Catherine Murphy, we have Matt Carty, we have Paul Murphy, Peadar Tóibín, we have Willie O'Dea. The list is endless of people wanting to come out, find out what Micheal Martin, Ivana Batch did with. Yeah. So we're delighted, Anna. We couldn't be more over the moon, because it's
beyond our wildest dreams today, the results we got,
that people wants to find out what Micheal Martin was at in 2003 in stopping a public inquiry, and what happened to our samples that would have brought a different outcome to the state investigation. It cost 5.3 million. Now, and we are delighted that the questions that was raised today by Paul Murphy and Matt Carty, and not forgetting our good friend Matthew McGrath. He has been there for a long time. When no one was with him, he ploughed the furrow on, and
he does in many issues.
Many issues, and today everyone came together across party,
consensus
with everyone. It was unbelievable, and we're thankful to everyone today.
Well, it is actually quite unprecedented, because you had a union of the left and the right today. Matty McGrath, who would be perceived to be on the right, and then Sinn Féin and Deputy Paul Murphy would be seen to be on the left. So it was really today principles above personalities.
Yes,
all,
very much so.
All
and
united.
We're very, very grateful.
Yeah, and they now know there was a wrong done to us. And they have the evidence, and Paul Murphy brought up new evidence there today, and I think it's time for the Taoiseach. He has ran from this, and he has been lucky to get away with this for over 20 years, but all we can say is that we feel today the tide is turning, and we're coming after him for the answers as to why he stopped the inquiry, who got involved with him, who put the pressure on, and we need those answers. We have been devastated, our lives have been ruined, and
continues to be.
Yeah, from this pollution, and we are delighted.
And I suppose we're outside the gates of Leinster House now. We don't have what's called Dáil privilege, but the name of Tony Holohan came up today in the Dáil chamber. Yes. And I suppose a point that you have made to me over the years when I interviewed you, Pat, is that if Micheal Martin had conceded to a public inquiry back in 2003, perhaps we wouldn't have had the cervical smear scandal. It's on the public record that Tony Holohan advised then Minister for Health Simon Harris not to carry out an investigation into what went wrong with the cervical smear test results, but it's on the record that Simon Harris ignored that advice. So we have that, and we also have the swine flu scandal. That's making its way through the courts now, and Tony Holohan has been named in court by senior counsel about the role that he played in that. So, as you say, you know, it's not just about you at this stage.
No. We tried our best at time, like, and he did advise Micheal Martin, like, in 2001, that not to hold a public inquiry, and he gave him misleading advice, and we have proof of that, and Micheal Martin has proof of that. Now, in 2018, you talked about Simon Harris. We gave in a dossier that myself and Nuala had prepared, and we found out that when that was being reviewed, that it was Tony Holohan that was on board investigating himself. So clearly the issue of the cervical cancer issue, the question must be asked to, did Simon Harris know other things, because he gave our dossier to a guy that allegations were made against to investigate himself. So let's be honest, you know, ours had a lot to do, but if we got that inquiry at the time from Martin, we may have been able to change the course of
so much
of
time
of issues for the cervical cancer.
Especially.
But we're back,
for those women.
and we haven't gone away, and we hope to change it for other ones in years to come.
And for our own area.
Well, I suppose in conclusion, I have to commend you, Nuala and Pat, for your tireless efforts over the years, more than 20 years now fighting this issue, and I suppose going on 30 years if we take into consideration that original EPA investigation that followed the prime time expose by RTE back in the late 1990s, and you have never ever given up that fight for justice. And I
Thanks
commend
to you,
for
Anna.
that.
Thank you too, Anna.
You kept it going when the main media
And thank
walked
you
away
for your
from it.
input here today. Like, you know, thank you so much. We appreciate all your friendship and all your support. Thank you. You can see here the sea levels. This is a global map, like, that anyone can access, and it's an interactive map of Ireland, and this is Askeaton. Now they're saying this is going to be 8 and 10 years time. The red area or pink area, whatever you like to call it, that is where the mud ponds are and the company. You can see Askeaton, Russell and it's limited. In 10 years, look, that's going to be our sea level. What's going to block? So forget about even our issue, Matty. Like, the red mud is going to be underwater.
And washed everywhere.
Washed everywhere.
That's very interesting.
What is going to be happen to the Shannon estuary when that happens?
Surrounding
and remember what it is. It is, you know, hazardous chemicals.
Yes.
Tons upon tons.
It's a very interesting observation.
Yeah, really.
Thanks for pointing out. I wasn't aware of that.